In this podcast episode, Konstantin Kisin discusses the dangers of ideological thinking, particularly in the context of wokeness. He explores the implications of victimhood culture, the importance of resilience, and the role of personal responsibility in overcoming challenges. Kisin also addresses broader societal issues, including the decline of Western civilization, immigration complexities, climate change, and the need for constructive dialogue across political divides. Kisin begins with critiquing the dangers of ideological thinking. He argues that subscribing to a prepackaged set of beliefs can lead individuals away from the truth, simplifying complex human interactions by categorizing people into groups based on a hierarchy of oppression. This perspective, he contends, fosters a victimhood mentality that ultimately harms individuals by promoting a sense of helplessness rather than resilience. Kisin's insights are shaped by his upbringing in the late Soviet Union, where he witnessed the collapse of a society. This experience has instilled in him an understanding of the fragility of civilizations and the privileges enjoyed in the West. He expresses concern that the current cultural climate, characterized by division and a focus on trivial issues, signals weakness to other nations, which may exploit this division geopolitically. When discussing his political affiliations, Kisin emphasizes that he does not strictly align with the left or right. Instead, he advocates for a pragmatic approach to governance that evaluates issues contextually, considering the needs of society at any given moment. He critiques the use of political labels as weapons, noting that they often serve to dismiss opposing viewpoints rather than foster constructive dialogue. Kisin defines wokeness as a combination of victimhood promotion and a simplistic view of societal dynamics, where individuals are seen not as unique persons, but as representatives of their groups. He argues that this ideology leads to a focus on historical grievances rather than creating pathways for success in the present. The emphasis on victimhood, he believes, can be self-destructive, shaping individuals' perceptions and expectations in a way that leads them to see discrimination where it may not exist. Kisin references psychological concepts such as perception is projection, explaining that individuals who adopt a victimhood mindset may interpret neutral or ambiguous situations through a lens of oppression. This can negatively impact their experiences and outcomes. He highlights the importance of resilience and the need to empower individuals, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds, to overcome challenges rather than reinforcing a narrative of victimhood. The concept of stereotype threat is another critical theme in Kisin's discussion. He acknowledges that individuals reminded of negative stereotypes about their group may perform worse in relevant tasks. This phenomenon illustrates the power of societal narratives and the importance of fostering a mindset that encourages individuals to believe in their potential, regardless of societal expectations or stereotypes. Kisin reflects on the importance of role models in inspiring individuals to overcome obstacles. He cites figures like Jamal Edwards, a successful young black entrepreneur in the UK, as examples of people who have risen above their circumstances. Kisin believes that seeing someone who has succeeded despite facing similar challenges can eliminate excuses and motivate others to pursue their goals. He stresses that personal success stories can serve as powerful motivators for those who feel disadvantaged. Kisin discusses research indicating that names associated with certain races can affect job application outcomes. He points out that individuals with more common or traditionally Western names are often more likely to receive job offers than those with names perceived as less conventional. While acknowledging this bias, he argues that it should not deter individuals from striving for success. Instead, he encourages people to focus on their abilities and how they can leverage their unique circumstances to their advantage. Kisin shares his observations about generational differences, particularly between Millennials and Gen Z. He notes that Gen Z has access to vast amounts of information through technology, which can be both a blessing and a curse. While they are often more informed, Kisin perceives a sense of entitlement and self-centeredness among some Gen Z individuals, contrasting with the more deferential attitude of Millennials. He believes that this self-centeredness can hinder their professional development and collaboration in the workplace. Kisin articulates a pessimistic view of the current state of the world, particularly regarding the decline of Western civilization. He argues that internal divisions and weaknesses within Western societies are leading to increased global conflict. As the dominant civilization weakens, it creates opportunities for other nations to assert themselves, potentially leading to instability and violence. Kisin highlights the issue of national debt as a significant problem facing Western countries. He argues that current levels of debt represent a failure to uphold the intergenerational contract, where older generations are not making sacrifices for the benefit of future generations. The burden of debt will fall on younger generations, leading to economic challenges and a diminished quality of life. He believes this situation reflects a lack of cohesion and responsibility within society, as current policies prioritize short-term gains over long-term stability. Kisin discusses the pervasive influence of brainwashing in academia, particularly since the 1960s, attributing it to a concerted effort by Marxist ideologies, which he describes as a form of race Marxism. He explains that Marxism, originally conceived by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, frames society through the lens of oppression, categorizing individuals as either oppressors or oppressed. He emphasizes that the Soviet Union's goal was not merely to establish communism in Russia, but to promote a global revolution. The conversation shifts to the role of foreign influence in exacerbating societal divisions. Kisin references a recent case involving a media company funded by Russian interests to disseminate divisive content in the U.S. He highlights the tactics used by foreign actors to create confusion and discord, aiming to undermine trust in institutions and foster division among the populace. Kisin also discusses the decline of religion in Western societies and its impact on individuals' sense of purpose and community. As people become more individualistic and disconnected, they seek meaning in various ways, including through new belief systems or ideologies. He suggests that while the decline of religion has left a void, it also opens the door for new forms of spirituality or community to emerge. The rise of figures like Andrew Tate, who appeal to young men seeking a sense of identity and purpose, is another topic Kisin addresses. He argues that the backlash against perceived threats to masculinity is a natural response to societal changes that have left many men feeling marginalized. He posits that the solution for men lies in self-improvement and personal responsibility, emphasizing the importance of hard work, skill development, and seeking mentorship. Kisin reflects on the appeal of combat sports among men, suggesting that these activities provide an outlet for traditional expressions of masculinity. In a culture that often discourages assertiveness and strength in men, combat sports offer a space where these traits can be celebrated and expressed. This phenomenon, he argues, is indicative of a broader search for identity and purpose in a rapidly changing world. Kisin discusses the importance of collaboration between genders, asserting that both men and women have unique strengths and skills that can complement each other. He believes that when one gender suffers, it ultimately affects the other, and the goal should be to foster healthy relationships and mutual support. He critiques the tendency to label all men as problematic based on the actions of a few, emphasizing the need for constructive dialogue. Kisin notes that free speech has undergone significant changes over the past decade, often weaponized by different political sides to silence opposing views. He recalls how the narrative around vaccines shifted dramatically during the pandemic, highlighting the need for a consistent commitment to free speech regardless of political affiliation. He believes that the current climate of censorship is detrimental to society. The discussion continues with Kisin's perspective on the balance between free speech and the potential for harmful content on social media. He acknowledges the rise of hate speech and offensive content, but argues that the solution is not to ban such speech outright. Instead, he suggests that there should be a distinction between allowing free expression and promoting harmful ideologies. Looking ahead, Kisin expresses cautious optimism about the future of the West, believing that it will remain dominant due to its accumulated advantages. However, he warns that great civilizations can decline when they stop fighting for their future. He stresses the importance of teaching future generations about the value of Western civilization and its achievements. Kisin continues by addressing the potential consequences if the West were to lose its dominance to countries like China or Russia. He warns that such a shift would likely result in a decline in human rights and freedoms, urging listeners to recognize the importance of preserving and promoting the values of the West to ensure a prosperous future for subsequent generations. Kisin discusses the implications of the upcoming U.S. election, asserting that every election is significant, particularly the one between Trump and Kamala Harris. He emphasizes that the stakes are high due to the vast differences in their political views and potential policies, making the outcome crucial not just domestically, but internationally. Kisin shares his evolving views on taxation, particularly regarding the wealthy. He notes that while there is a popular sentiment advocating for higher taxes on the rich, this approach can lead to negative consequences, such as discouraging investment and job creation. He argues that wealth creation is essential for economic growth and that punitive tax policies can ultimately harm the very people they are intended to help. Kisin discusses the complexities of immigration in the U.S., emphasizing the distinction between legal and illegal immigration. He expresses concern about the challenges posed by illegal immigration, particularly regarding security and the rule of law. He argues that while many individuals seek better opportunities, the process must be orderly and legal to ensure that those entering the country are vetted and contribute positively to society. Kisin discusses the complexities surrounding climate change, emphasizing a pragmatic approach rather than viewing it through an ideological lens. He acknowledges that climate change is a real phenomenon and that human activities contribute to global warming. However, he argues that the narrative surrounding climate change often exaggerates potential catastrophes, suggesting that the situation is not as dire as some portray it to be. Kisin advocates for technological solutions to the climate change challenge, particularly emphasizing the need for increased use of nuclear power. He argues that nuclear energy is a carbon-neutral option that can provide a stable and efficient energy source. Kisin stresses the importance of making clean energy cheaper and more accessible, which he sees as a critical step in addressing climate change effectively.